Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Mic check.
Hello, everybody.
Check.
Can you hear us?
Check 1, 2.
Give us a big thumbs up if you can hear us.
Thumbs up in the chat if all is good. Audio, visual. Chris, Dougie, what's up, buddy? What's up, boys? Hope you're doing well today.
Hope everyone's doing good. Hope you all had a good week. A good Easter.
It's a good day outside for a little Wim Hof today, Chris. So to start today, who else is here? Flavio.
Nice. Okay.
Good to see you, Flavio. Hope you had a good week as well.
All right.
Sweet.
So again, thank you everybody for coming out to our live stream. I feel like this has become a regular every Friday night, which is awesome. So we just want to remind you to...
Hey, Nat. Good to see you.
To make sure you share our videos, like our videos, subscribe.
Simon, Darren, and Lori, good to see you guys too. Welcome.
And again, thanks to Lori and Darren for letting us film in their beautiful space.
Absolutely.
Again, we use we use my camera this time filming, so I think the quality's a little bit better. It's better on our end anyway.
Yeah, the video should look a little bit more clear and crisp. And thanks to Doug as well for letting us use his webcam for this, so much appreciated.
We just have an announcement. So I'm doing a live meditation tomorrow morning around 11 a.m. So I'll be on here, same thing, but it won't be pre-recorded, so I'll actually be doing it live. And so if you're interested in coming out to that, just anything that you might need is a blanket, a pillow, just anything that's going to make you feel like really comfortable, just a nice place to lay down, or you can find a seated position, and then a journal. If that's something that you're into, you can also journal your experience after. Tell me, kids. Also, we've been getting a lot of requests for yin classes. So I'm actually currently doing my yin training online. So I'm hoping to get a yin class out in the next couple weeks. And we've also had a lot of beginner class class recommendations. So I think the next class that I put out will be a beginner level class.
Yeah, and we can put together 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah.
For the meditation, Zach. And in terms of the more beginner level classes, Chris is going to live stream one. We'll do one as a live stream, but then we'll also put together, I don't know, maybe like a package of 5 or 6 different classes that maybe we can put together and link up on her website. Yeah. And we also had a suggestion from Nat before about blooper reel. So while we're waiting for people to come in, we actually have a little a little brief blooper reel from one clip is from the previous class, and then we have some others from this class. So let me cut this music or turn it down a little bit. And yeah, so we got some bloopers for y'all. Oh, that's loud. Sorry. You know, this is what happens when you think that nobody's watching you.
Apparently, I forgot that the camera was rolling.
And to begin this practice in our core pose, in our Chadasana. So make yourself comfortable.
Good to see you, Emily. This is our bloopers.
Your mat. As you allow your body to settle onto your mat, start to allow your attention, your awareness to begin to settle into your body.
Now, I don't know if you guys also get frustrated with technology, but yeah. No matter how skilled you are with Zen, technology is always going to push you to the brink, I guess.
Create. Just beginning to create a greater sense of awareness surrounding the body, a little more specifically surrounding. What the fuck? There, fuck. Wasn't getting any music. Okay. Is yours messing up? How's it now? Okay. Yeah.
I'm also quite OCD, and I don't like having a dusty mat.
Do you have music? Well, now. Why is it doing that? It's better. Okay. These fucking stupid fucking headphones.
It's like it doesn't be like right side of you.
But it never was like that.
Hello, Jess. Welcome.
My watch is like off the side and it works. I don't know why it's doing
Zen
this.
Master losing it over his friggin' headphones.
We can keep the chest elevated, awesome heart center, going for your warrior 3 or your airplane. We shift forward. Topple. Thinking back to lunge. Preparing your tree pose, raise it into the right leg. Prayer hands, we start to draw the hip height. Open that hip up. Without using the hands, inhale, we hold the heel in and up onto that right leg.
And the final thing to finish it all off. Ladies might relate to this.
Oh yeah, digging deep. So there's our bloopers. There's some of our bloopers for this last class. We like to have fun here. We like to have fun here sometimes, you know?
But now we'll get into some business.
What did you guys think of those? Oh, Dougie. I'm sure you've got the fanciest Lulus.
Alright, you want to start?
That's a good suggestion, Linda. I'll play around with that for sure. Good idea. Get it, girl? Absolutely. Oh my god, so funny. See, this is what it's all about. Having fun in the chat, you know, laughing. We can do a little yoga, a little comedy. Why not? Okay. So, I guess we can start. Keeping you guys waiting. So, make sure you've got some water if you need it, your props if you need them.
I will just link up the playlist one more time just in case.
Yeah, we got some music set up for you guys as well. Some nice hip-hop inspired beats. Hip-hop, you don't stop. Bop, bop, bop. Okay, and so we'll queue up our class. Enjoy. And we'll see you guys after the practice. See you in a bit. Enjoy. Cheers.
Have a good practice.
Good day, everyone. Greetings, peace and blessings to you all. Chad here with Krista.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to another practice. We're going to begin this practice in our corpse pose, in our Chadasana. So make yourselves comfortable, settle onto your mat. As you begin to allow your body to settle onto your mat, start to allow your attention, your awareness to begin to settle into your body. Just beginning to create a greater sense of awareness surrounding the body, a little more specifically surrounding our cycles of breath. And so you just want to begin by observing this internal process, just connecting to the natural rhythm that your body creates, that your respiratory system creates. You're just following along with the natural rhythm of your inhales and your exhales. At your discretion, you can begin to cultivate your breath. That is to say, you begin to apply conscious control to this process, just looking to slow the breath down, allow the breath to lengthen. And you want to cultivate a pattern of breathing that becomes deliberately slow, very conscious, very relaxed, and steady. You want your breath to have a sort of calming influence over the mind, over the body, over the nervous system. And so we'll stay here for 4 more full cycles of breath, slow, steady inhales, and even slower, even steadier exhales. Now breathe into the belly, let it rise, let it expand, allow the ribs to expand, allow the chest to lift up. Even slower, even steadier on the exhale. You feel the chest fall, the ribs deflate, the tummy softens. 2 more, just like that. So when you're ready, start to bring a little bit of movement into the body. Just starting with a little bit of movement in the extremities. Start to wake up your hands and your feet. Wiggle out the fingers, wiggle out the toes. If it feels good to roll out the wrists and the ankles, you can go for that. And as you gently start to coax the body awake, when you're ready, taking a bend into the knees, the feet will come flat on your mat. And beginning to connect breath and movement together, and just beginning to mobilize the low back, the hips a little bit. You're going to start to create a little windshield wiper motion with the knees, just letting the knees sway side to side. But the challenge here is in being able to move according to the rhythm of your breathing. And so we're not cutting off the breath short at all to sort of suit how the mind wants to move, but maybe try to hold yourselves back to a degree. Challenge your mind to be a little bit more patient in how it moves along with the breath. So as you inhale, the knees will lift to center. As you exhale, they'll lower down and to your side. And so oftentimes, when the mind knows where it's going and where it's going to end up, there can be a tendency for the mind to become impatient in getting there. And so you just want to challenge your mind to move slower than it wants to, slower than it's used to moving, and just applying a little bit more awareness surrounding how you're moving your body, or rather, how your body is creating movement. Now, the next time that your knees lower down and to your right, extending that left leg nice and long on your mat, you're going to start to sort of sweep the leg in a big half circle. So you want to kind of skim along the ground, and as you kick out to your side, you want to think about tracking your knee up towards your shoulder. Now, of course, the further you can draw your leg towards the top of your mat, the more of a stretch you're going to create through the back side of the leg. And with your exhale, you're going to reverse your movement path, sweeping the leg down towards the end of your mat. Let the knees sway. Yeah. Extending through that right leg, big half circle, you're sweeping the leg out to your side, up towards the top left corner of your mat. Find your stretch, try to find your end range. Exhale. Sweep down towards the end of our mat, windshield wiper the knees. We'll go for another one like that, side to side, and you just want to continue to follow the rhythm of your breathing. One more. This time, as you extend the leg and you sweep out to your side and up, hold strong through that leg. Start to point your toes and begin to trace tiny little circles with that leg. So some end range rotations within that hip flexion. You want to maybe do 2 or 3 in each direction. So if you haven't already, changing direction for another 2, 3, slowing it down, switching sides. Left leg extends, we kick out to our side again. Point your toes, hold strong through the leg, start to trace those tiny little circles. Yeah. Maybe again 3 or 4 in each direction. Try to slow it down. When you're ready, coming back to center, sweeping that right leg down to the end of your mat, taking a bend into the knees. Draw the knees in towards the chest, in towards the belly for your wind relieving pose. Give yourselves a nice little hug. You can play with that compression, squeezing the knees and thighs into the front body, creating a little compression through the abdominal region, maybe into the fronts of the hips. If it feels good for the low back, you can rock side to side. If it feels good to bring a little bit more rotational movement into the hips, with each palm to each knee individually, you can begin to trace little circles with the knees. If there's any other intuitive movements or adjustments that feel good to your body from within this position, feel free to explore. I'm not staying on our backs very long today. No rush to get there, but drawing the knees in towards the chest. Find your inhale. As you exhale, start to curl the shoulders up off of your mat, reaching your nose, reaching your forehead towards your knees for your cannonball pose. Your grip can stay to your shins. You can reach for the outside arches of the feet. If you'd like to engage the abdominals a little bit more, maybe releasing your grip, not relying on the strength of your arms to keep you curled up into your cannonball pose, but really starting to rely more on the engagement of the abdominals. Last breath here. When you're ready, take your palms to the backs of the thighs, rock back to the shoulders, and kick forward to a seated position. Yeah. From here, coming to your tabletop, however you'd like to get there, you can shift your weight forward. If you prefer to sweep your legs out to the side to come to your tabletop, that's okay. We're going to continue to mobilize the spine with our cat-cow. So following the rhythm of your breath, reconnect to the rhythm of your inhales and your exhales. When you're ready, use your inhale to find your cow pose, tilting the tailbone up, reaching the chest up, maybe the gaze looks up, creating an arch within the back, extension through the spine. As you exhale, the tailbone tucks underneath you, the chin tucks in towards the chest, the spine rounds up. Again, we want to reach up through that space between the shoulder blades and really try to draw the belly button in and up towards the spine to create that flexion. And just following your breath between the two positions. Inhale to your cow pose, again creating that arch or that concave shape within the spine. Exhale to your cat, rounding the spine up or creating a convex shape within the spine. And we'll go for a couple more like that, just following your breathing. At the bottom of your exhale here, just letting the spine come to neutral, sitting the hips back and down towards the heels for your child's pose. From this child's pose, we can breathe with your inhale. We lift to our modified plank, drawing the shoulders over the wrists, and creating a strong diagonal from the knees to the shoulders. As you exhale, if it feels okay, let your shoulders track past the fingertips without bending the elbows. Then you can bring a little stretch into the flexors of the wrists here, doing a little bit of wrist prep. And if you need to ease off, inhale, we shift back. Exhale, we'll sit to our child's pose. So you can go for another one like that. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, we shift forward. Little stretch for the wrists. If it feels good, maybe a little lateral movement within the shoulders. Again, if you need to regress the stretch, we shift back to our child's pose. When you're ready, inhale to lift, modified plank. This time, exhale, we're going to lower, modified chaturanga. Lowering nice and slow to the belly, not allowing the belly to droop or the hips to sag on your way down, pressing into the tops of the feet. Baby cobra. With your inhale, the chest lifts up and away from your mat, shoulders roll back and together, putting little to no weight in the hands here. So we want to just start to create some activation through our back muscles, through those spinal erectors. One more inhale here, and exhale will lower. Pushing back to your child's pose, this time we're going to start to engage the shoulders a little bit more. And so incorporating some rotational movement into the shoulders, you can let your forehead rest to your mat if that's comfortable for you. You can let your forehead rest to a block if that's more comfortable for you. Or just keeping the head and chest elevated away from the thighs a little bit. Pressing down into the palms. With your inhale, the right arm will lift. We create overhead flexion. Now, as Krista creates that overhead flexion, she wants to make sure that the shoulder blade doesn't start to hug in towards the center of her back, making sure that the ribs don't start to roll open towards the ceiling. So you want to try to keep your chest square to your mat as best you can. From here, start to trace tiny little circles with that arm, keeping the bicep alongside the ear. So with every rotation, with every revolution, it's like she's asking her shoulder for a little bit more flexion, a little bit more lift in the arm each time. And then we'll change directions for another 3, 2, 1. Continue to hold strong through that right arm. Start to rotate thumb downward. So we axially rotate the shoulder. We create internal rotation within that glenohumeral joint, the ball and socket portion of the shoulder joint. And she's going to start to trace a big circle with that right arm. As slow as she can, she's going to continue to rotate internally, continue to spiral that arm. So when she completes that rotation, if you notice, the back of the hand is facing towards the body. And she's going to reverse her movement path. So she's reaching for the back of her mat as she lifts, targeting that shoulder extension. Then she's going to slowly start to rotate thumb upward as she comes back to that overhead range. We'll bring the right hand down. Switching sides, same thing. As the left arm lifts, we want to make sure we're not rolling open, keeping the chest nice and square. Hold strong through the arm and start to trace those tiny little circles, end range rotations. When you're ready, we'll change directions. For another 3, another 2. Last 1. When you're ready, hold strong through the arm. Start to rotate thumb down. So we create internal rotation within that shoulder, and then we start to trace our circle. And so the idea here is to trace the circle in as wide of a pain-free range of motion as you can, as slowly and as controlled as you can. So you want to challenge the shoulder a little bit here. Shoulder should feel like it's working a little bit, as our intention is to warm the joint up, to prep the joint for our practice. As you bring that left arm down, going for your vinyasa, inhale to your modified plank, exhale, we'll lower modified chaturanga. Pressing down into the tops of the feet, find your baby cobra. Inhale, chest lifts up, little to no weight in the palms. Exhale to lower. Pushing back to your child's pose, we'll go one more each side, shoulder cars, our controlled articular rotations, or our joint circle. So when you're ready, right arm lifts. Start to rotate thumb down, start to trace that big circle. Switching sides. Inhale to your modified plank. Again, exhale, we'll lower to the belly. Pressing into the tops of the feet. Inhale, the chest will lift up. This time, retracting the shoulder blades, squeezing them together. Try to hover those palms, and then start to create a T shape with the arms. Yeah, exhale, we'll lower the chest. And just bringing an opening angle stretch into the shoulder. Be mindful with it. When you're ready, just letting it flow gently. Take a bend into the right knee. When you're ready, roll onto the left side of your body. It's like you're trying to reach your right toes towards that left hand. Yeah, go as far as is comfortable for the shoulder. Exhale, we come back onto the belly. Same thing, other side. We take a bend into the knee. Roll onto the right side of the body. Those left toes are reaching towards the top right corner of your mat. Exhale, we'll come onto the belly. We'll go for one more each side. On this last one, we're going to start to incorporate our hip rotations. So as you roll onto the left side of your body here, that bottom leg, that left leg, take a bend into the knee, and you want to create 90-degree flexion within the hip. So you want to find a nice L shape with the leg. It's just going to help you to balance and to support yourselves. From here, we're going to start to trace a big circle with the right hip. So start to bring the right knee in towards the chest. Find your hip flexion. From that hip flexion, we're going to start to open that hip up, tracking the knee, shin, toes towards the sky. From here, we begin to internally rotate the hip. So you're swinging the heel of the foot, the shin behind you. And then we want to extend that hip. So without losing the bend in the knee, pushing back through that heel, you want to create engagement through the back of the thigh. Maintain that engagement as you draw the knee straight down towards the floor. Hip adduction, so we're hugging in towards our center line. Drawing the knee back in towards the chest, you'll complete that first rotation. Go for another one, take it slow. When you find that hip flexion, you want to feel that engagement through the front of the hip as you open it up. Changing directions for two more. So start by extending the hip, push back through the heel. Once you feel that engagement through the back of the thigh, we lift up away from the ground, hip abduction. So you're lifting away or opening up away from your center line. Then we start to externally rotate. Yeah, and think about drawing your knee towards your shoulder before you close that hip up. And we'll go for one more like that. As you complete this last rotation, legs extend long on your mat, coming back onto the belly. As you come onto the belly, we roll onto the right side of the body. Again, this time taking a bend into the right knee. We want that 90-degree hip flexion just for balance, for stability. And then begin with your hip cars. So again, we start by drawing the knee towards the chest. Yeah, finding that hip flexion, then we open it up. Take your time, just like you did with your shoulders. Internally rotating the hip, heel of the foot and shin swing behind you. Starting to extend that hip. You want to feel the knee and thigh tracking behind the hip as best you can. And then we draw the knee straight down and we pull in towards the chest. Sorry. Go for one more like that. So just like we did on the other side, when you're ready to change directions, extend the hip, trace your circle, challenge your hip. Closing that hip up, extend both legs to the end of your mat, coming onto the belly. Press down into the tops of the feet. With your inhale, start to peel your chest away from your mat, arms follow. Pull those palms to come under the shoulders. Exhale to lower, pushing back to your child's pose. Take a moment here, breathe. From this child's pose, we're going to come into our downward facing dog. So keeping the arms extended, the hands well ahead of the shoulders. With your inhale, lift your hips away from your heels so you can tuck the toes under. And then with your next inhale, pressing the sits bones up and back in space to create that perhaps familiar upside down V shape with the body. Now if it helps to create more length through the spine, we can maintain a little bend in the knees. And then we can start to play with pressing the heels towards the floor, pedaling out the feet, shaking out the legs, maybe creating a little bit of stretch through the backs of the thighs. And you can do this both heels together, moving in tandem, or we can sort of pedal one foot down or press one heel down at a time, alternating between feet. Breathe. If you wanted to create more stretch within the shoulders, option to press down and back through the hands, letting the chest sink between the shoulders, creating a little bit more overhead flexion. It should almost feel like you're actively trying to press your chest back towards your knees, towards your thighs here. Beginning to build our flow. With your next inhale, start to lift the heels up. Bring a nice little stretch in through the toes, through the tops of the feet. With your exhale, lower the knees to your mat gently. Find your tabletop. Coming into a balancing cat. With your next inhale, start to kick your left leg towards the back of your mat. Holding strong here. You can hold, or the right arm, the right fingertips can start to reach towards the top of your mat, creating a nice straight, strong line of energy from that back heel through to the fingertips. And you can hold here, just working on balance, or maintaining balance and maintaining your stability as you move. As you exhale, take it slow. You're going to curl the knee and the elbow in towards the center of the chest to meet. And you can even press them together a little bit to create a little bit more engagement through those abdominals. Moving with your breath. As you inhale, start to lengthen, reaching for opposite ends of your mat. Exhale, we curl it in, knee to elbow. We'll go for a couple more like that. Follow your breath. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to curl it in. As you lengthen for opposite ends of your mat, bring your right palm down, holding strong through that left leg. Krista's going to demonstrate a little modification for your wild thing. So just taking a bend into that left knee, you're going to step that left foot to the outside of that right shin. And with your next inhale, begin to reach up through the left fingertips. So she's turning away from that right palm. You want to be mindful as you start to open your chest up towards the sky, as that's going to increase the stretch through that right shoulder. If you'd like to create more stretch through the left side of the body, option to start to extend that reach towards the top of your mat. And using that right palm, you can shift your hips towards the back of your mat. Yeah, how's that? Okay, nice. Breathing here. From here, when you're ready, we're going to come to find a kneeling lunge. So bringing the left palm down to meet the right. Yeah, with your inhale, the right leg will kick towards the back wall. Left leg will kick towards the back wall. Tucking the right toes under, find a three-legged down dog. Yeah, so as you kick the left leg up and back in space, you're looking to create lift, to create length through that leg. As you exhale, carrying that left foot forward, in a nice big but controlled step between the hands. We'll take the back knee down to our mat, top of the foot flat, so you can use blocks or your props if you have them to support the hands, or the chest can lift and the palms can rest to the top of the thigh. So yogi's choice. If you want to go a little bit further with this, option for your kneeling crescent lunge. And so we can start to extend our reach overhead. Now notice how as you reach up, if that starts to change the stretch through the front of that right hip. Breathe here. You can stay if you wanted to explore a little bit of a back bend in your pose. As you inhale, you want to lengthen up through the ribs to the fingertips. As you exhale, just letting the thumbs track back. So you want this back bend to manifest more towards the mid-back, in and around the shoulder blades or where the bra line sort of rests, and not so much in the low back. From here, coming into a runner's lunge modified. As you exhale, carry the chest, the shoulders forward, swing the arms back behind you, nice straight line. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Think about creating expansion through the chest. We'll go for another one like that. Follow your breath. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up, lift the chest up. If you want to take your reach towards the back of your mat, go for that. Exhale, carry the chest forward, arms swing down and behind, squeezing the shoulder blades together. One more. This time as you bring the hands down, we'll prepare a little counter pose for that front leg, our half splits. So walking the palms, shifting the hips towards that back foot. You want to extend through that front leg, rolling onto the heel of the foot. Breathing here, and we want to create length through the spine. So you want to think about sort of tilting the pelvis back, poking your bum out behind you, puffing the chest forward. So instead of thinking about trying to bring your nose towards your knee and rounding through the upper back, creating flexion through the spine, try to maintain length through the spine. Send the gaze to look forward and think about lengthening your chest towards your toes. Breathing here. If you wanted to amplify that stretch through the back side of the leg, feel free to explore playing with a little bit of an isometric contraction by pressing down into the heel of that left foot. So you want to press down gently but actively and notice if that starts to ramp up the stretch for you. You can stay here, you can breathe with this. If you want to keep it flowing, try to follow your breath as you inhale. Walk your palms forward, shift your hips forward. Exhale to your kneeling lunge. Inhale, we walk the palms back, we shift the hips back. Exhale, half splits. Go for one more like that, back and forth. Coming back to your lunge, plant your hands. Yeah, back toes will tuck under, the right knee will lift. Inhale, left foot steps back to meet the right. High push-up, high plank. You can lower from here in your chaturanga, or option to bring your knees down to modify, yogi's choice. Exhale, we're going to lower all the way down to the belly in that slow, controlled way. Pressing into the tops of the feet, strong legs. With your inhale, option to stay with your baby cobra. Or, keeping the legs strong and active, pressing into the palms, option for your upward facing dog. As you inhale, you're pulling the chest forward and through between the palms, letting the shoulders roll back and together. You want the legs to be so strong, so active that the knees and thighs are lifting with the rest of the body. When you're ready, find your downward dog, tucking the toes under, pressing the sitting bones up and back in space. And again, take a moment here, pedal at the feet. Shake out the legs a little bit. Inhale, heels will lift up. Exhale, lower the knees. Balancing cat. This time, right leg kicks back. Left fingertips will start to reach forward. Hold strong. So again, it's not about what you're doing, but about how you're doing it. So you want to think about quality of movement here and maintaining that stability through your core center throughout your movement. Exhale to curl it in, elbow to knee. And again, you can connect and press the limbs together. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, we'll curl it in. Follow your breath. Again, as we lengthen for opposite ends of our mat, take a bend into the right knee. Left palm will come down to your mat. Right foot steps to the outside of the left shin. Right fingertips will start to reach up to the sky. Modified wild thing, if you wanted to build this transition up, holding strong through that right leg, tuck the left toes under, the left knee will lift. We can take a bend into the knee, we can twist at the waist, and we can flip to our wild thing from our high plank. When you're ready, we'll find our three-legged down dog. We'll bring the right palm down. Inhale, right leg kicks up and back in space. Exhale, step that right foot forward, big step between the hands. We'll take the back knee down, top of the foot flat. Again, utilizing your blocks, your props, if you choose, or the chest can lift, palms to the thigh. Breathing here. You can stay with that stretch. If we want to take the arms overhead, option for the kneeling crescent lunge. Again, if you wanted to go for that little back bend, allowing the thumbs to track towards the back of your mat. When you're ready, flowing with your runner's lunge, crescent lunge, as you exhale, carry the chest forward, arms sweep back behind you. As you inhale, chest lifts up. Arms reach up. If you want to take your reach back, option for that. And again, just following your breath, we'll flow with that a couple more times. Bringing the palms down to your mat, find your half splits. Walk the palms, shift the hips towards that back heel. Again, we don't have to sit all the way to the heel, you don't have to sit to the floor, but maintaining that length through the spine, hinging at the hip, hinging at the waist. And again, you can explore pressing into that front heel. We can stay here, or moving with the breath. Walk the palms forward, shift the hips forward. Exhale, kneeling lunge. Inhale, walk the palms back, shift the hips back. Exhale, half splits. Go for a few more like that. Coming back to that kneeling lunge, palms to your mat if you're using your blocks. The back toes will tuck under, the left knee will lift. Right foot steps back to meet the left. High push-up, high plank. Your chaturanga, option to lower the knees, to modify if you choose. And finding your vinyasa, finding your flow. Exhale to lower. Inhale to find your back bend, baby cobra, or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a moment to breathe here. Again, pedaling out the feet, shaking out the legs. And so building up our flow from here, you can stay with some of those modified variations, or we're going to start to progress it a little bit. So from your downward dog, again, follow your breath. As you inhale, the heels lift. We'll bring a little stretch in through the toes. Exhale, we'll lower the knees gently. Balancing cat. Inhale, the left leg kicks back. Right arm reaches forward. Just one. Go with your breath. Exhale, we'll curl it in. Inhale, we lengthen. Going for your wild thing. The right palm can come down. You can step that left foot to the outside of the right shin. We can flip from our high plank. Or we can find a three-legged down dog, taking a bend into the knee, rolling the hip open. We can flip our dog. Three-legged down dog, bringing the left palm down, pivot onto the right toes. Inhale, left leg kicks up and back in space. Exhale, step that left foot forward, big step between the palms. Breathe. So option for the kneeling lunge, option to continue to use your blocks. Coming into your high runner's lunge if you choose. The low belly can lift up and away from that left thigh, the arms can start to reach back. Going to your crescent lunge, follow the breath. Inhale, lift the chest up, reach the fingertips up. Again, you can play with taking your reach towards the back of your mat. Exhale to your runner's lunge. Go for another like that. Hands can come down to your blocks, adding on. We're gonna go for a warrior 3, so block assisted. Walk your blocks ahead of that front foot, and very slowly, you're gonna start to shift your weight forward, extending that hip. You're gonna start to fly that back leg. Yeah, and the idea here is not to sort of dump your weight into your hands or into your blocks, but you wanna lift up out of them. Yeah, getting very light on those fingertips. Now, if you're not using blocks, option 2, keep your hands to heart center. Keep the chest elevated a little bit. Stay long through the spine. Use your back toes to shift your weight forward. Then start to extend that back hip, finding lift within the leg. When you're ready, coming to your mountain pose, start to lift the chest away from your mat, away from the floor as you pull that right foot forward. Find your exhale here. And preparing a balancing pose, we're gonna go for our tree pose. So keep your weight into your left leg. Start to draw your right knee to hip height. Creating that hip flexion, start to open that hip up. And without using your hands, if you can, take an inhale and see if you can pull that heel up and in towards the thigh or wherever it lands on that standing leg. If your foot falls against the knee, that's okay, don't panic. Just be mindful of the load that you're placing into that standing leg. So we can breathe here. Palms can stay to heart center. Of course, if you'd like to express your tree pose, option to grow branches for your tree. With your inhale, you start to extend the arms upward. If you have any other variation of your tree that you'd like to find, maybe bringing the palms together, overhead, in any variation. When you're ready, exhale, we'll bring those hands back to heart center. Pulling that right foot away from that left leg, start to draw the right knee forward. Stepping back to your crescent lunge. Take a slow bend into the left knee, the right leg extends back. Toes down. Back inhale, chest up, reach up. Exhale, we'll bring the palms through to heart center, finding a side lunge, pivot all 10 toes to the side edge of your mat. Back heel comes down, pivot the front toes in, lunging towards that front foot. You can stay here. If you have your blocks, you can use them to support the hands. Bringing a nice stretch through the inside of that right thigh. Now with your hands to your blocks or to your mat, moving with your breath. As you inhale, start to straighten through that front leg. Shift your weight, your hips towards the center of your stance. Go wide-legged forward fold. As you exhale, take a bend into the right knee, shift your weight towards that back foot. And we'll go back and forth like that a few times. So again, follow your breath. Inhale, straighten through the right leg. Shift your weight to center. Exhale, take a bend into the left knee. Shift weight. Inhale to center. Exhale to shift. As you shift your weight back towards your front foot, start to walk the palms and pivot all 10 toes to the top of your mat, framing that front foot. Plant your hands. Inhale, left foot steps back to meet the right high plank, or you can take a 3-limb plank and find your variation, your flow. Exhale, we lower. Inhale to find your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Playing with that on the other side. Breathe. Inhale, heels up. Exhale, lower the knees. This time the right leg kicks back. Left arm reaches forward, balancing cat. Exhale, curl it and knee to elbow. Inhale, we lengthen. Going for your wild thing. Left palm down. Back toes can tuck under. We can find that high plank, or we can go for a 3-legged down dog, and we can flip our dog. So yogi's choice here. When you're ready, 3-legged dog, right palm down. Pivot onto the left toes, kicking the right leg up and back in space. Create that lift, create that length. Exhale, step the foot forward for your runner's lunge. Hands to your blocks or to your mat, or again, the low belly can lift up and away from that front thigh. Arms extend back. Crescent lunge. Inhale, lift the chest up, reach the fingertips up. Again, you can take your reach back if that feels good. Exhale to your runner's lunge. And go for a couple more like that. As you come back to that runner's lunge, hands to blocks, or we can keep the chest elevated, palms to heart center, going for your warrior 3 or your airplane. Shifting forward. Extend that back hip, extend that left hip, start to hover that leg. Breathe. Continue to lift the chest away from the floor, maintain length through the spine. Going for your variation. When you're ready, mountain pose. Inhale, pull the chest up as that left leg pulls forward and through. Mountain pose. Breathe. Preparing your tree pose. Weight is into the right leg. Prayer hands. We start to draw that left knee up to hip height. Open that hip up. Without using the hands, inhale. We pull the heel in and up onto that right leg. You can stay right here. Or we can start to grow branches for our tree. Go with your inhale. So as you inhale, the ribs expand and lengthen upwards. It's only natural to go with that movement of the breath. Express your pose. When you're ready, bringing the palms back through to heart center. Inhale. We lift that left foot away from the inside of that right leg, drawing the knee forward. Stepping back to your crescent lunge, slow and steady. Control yourself. Inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, bring the hands together. Side lunge. Take that back heel down to your mat, pivot the front toes inwardly, lunging towards that front foot. Again, you can use your blocks or keeping the chest upright. Now again, you can straighten through the right leg, coming to that wide-legged forward fold, and then you can shift. If you wanted to challenge the hips a little bit, keeping the hips nice and low, see if you can just shift straight across in a nice straight line. So instead of coming up and shifting, we keep the hips nice and low, we shift across in a straight line. We'll go back and forth, side to side, a few more times, following the breath. Last one. As you shift back to the top of your mat, hands down, pivot all 10 toes to the top of your mat. Finding your high push-up, high plank, or again, 3-limbed plank, yogi's choice. Exhale to find your chaturanga. Inhale to your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Going through this flow one more time. You're free to flow with it however you'd like, if you want to be creative with it, if you want to continue to use blocks or props to support yourself in your poses, please do. Krista's gonna do her thing, gonna flow and try to make things work nice. And then you just want to create nice, smooth, fluid movements as best you can, doing your best to move with the rhythm of your breathing. So we want to be able to maintain the calmness of our breath, even in moments of heightened intensity in our practice. So from that downward dog, take a moment to reconnect to your breath. Follow your inhales, follow your exhales. When you're ready, inhale, we lift the heels. Exhale, we lower the knees, tabletop. Go for your balancing cat. Left leg kicks back, right arm reaches forward. Exhale, we curl it in, knee to elbow. Inhale, we lengthen. Taking the right palm down, go for your wild thing. You can flip from your plank, or we can find that three-legged dog. We can flip our dog. Control yourself. Three-legged down dog when you're ready. Left palm down. Pivot onto the back toes. Left leg kicks up and back. Create lift, create length. Exhale, step it forward. Big step between the palms. Find your runner's lunge. Low belly lifts up and away from the left thigh, arms reach back. Just one, make it count. Inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, runner's lunge. From that runner's lunge, use the back toes to shift your weight forward. Warrior 3, your airplane. Coming right to your tree pose. Inhale, chest lifts. Pull that right knee forward and through to hip height. Start to open that hip up. Palms together. Find your tree. And again, you can express your tree however you choose. Growing branches here. Breathe. Coming back to your warrior 3 or your airplane. Hands will come together. Right knee draws forward. Exhale, we kick back. Try to find your balance. And then we'll step back to our lunge. Inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, go for your side lunge. Pivot all 10 toes to the side edge of your mat, lunging towards that front foot. If you want to roll onto that heel, right heel, finding a Cossack squat variation, that's okay. When you're ready, we shift across. The yogi's choice for variation. Coming to that wide-legged forward fold, the center of your mat. Hands can come down again. You can use your blocks. Breathing here. Find your inhale, lengthen the chest forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips, at the waist. Fold over those thighs. Breathe. You can hold here, or coming up to a nice flat back, we can play with our windmill pose. So pressing your left palm to your mat, maybe in line with the chest. As you inhale, you can start to reach up through the right fingertips, allowing that left shoulder to roll underneath you, right shoulder rolling open behind you. Breathe. Exhale, we'll lower. Switching sides. Press into the right palm, reach up through the left. I'm going to feel a nice twist through the upper back here. Exhale, we'll lower. Find your inhale. Exhale, shift towards your back foot, side lunge. Option to roll onto the left heel. Shifting to the top of your mat. Take all 10 toes towards the top of your mat. Adding in a little hand balance. So a little continuity from last week. Krista was playing with her crow pose. We can incorporate our crow pose here. So when you're ready, rock your weight towards your back foot. Step that right foot forward. Yeah, taking a little forward fold. Plant the hands. And you remember this from our last class. Foot placement, however you'd like them. Hand placement, maybe about shoulder width apart. Spread those fingers wide. Create a nice base of support. And again, you're just playing with shifting your weight towards your hands. Maybe finding a lift in one foot or maybe both. Maybe keeping your toes to your mat lightly. That's okay. And then when you're ready, start to incorporate your crow into your flow. So you can step back to your high plank. You can hop back to that high plank. Or we can play with floating. Back. Inhale to your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a moment to breathe. One more round on the other side. Take rest if you need to take rest. Rejoin when you feel ready to do so. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, lower the knees. Balancing cat. This time, right leg kicks back. Left arm forward. As if you're moving through water, like you're practicing in a pool. We go knee to elbow. You want to self-impose that resistance internally resisting your own movements. Wild thing. Bring the left palm down. Again, you can flip from your plank, or we can kick to a three-legged down dog, and we can flip our dog. Three-legged dog. When you're ready, take the right palm down, pivot onto the back toes, right leg kicks up and back. Exhale, step it forward for your runner's lunge. Little belly lifts up and away from the right thigh, arms reach back. Again, just one, make it count, crescent lunge. Inhale, chest up, reach up. Exhale, chest forward, arms swing back. Warrior 3, your airplane, shift forward. Extend that left hip, start to hover that leg. Breathe. Again, the hinge at the hip at the waist is determined by the lift in that left leg. When you're ready, tree pose. Inhale, lift the chest, pull that left leg forward, draw the knee right up to hip height. Open that hip, sole of the foot, where you like it. Hands together, or again, you can express your tree pose. Coming back to your warrior 3 or your airplane, yogi's choice. Draw that left knee forward. Exhale, left leg will kick back. Try to find your balance. And stepping back to your lunge. Exhale, slow controlled bend through the right knee to float it down. Inhale, crescent lunge, chest up, reach up. Side lunge, take all 10 toes to the long edge of your mat. Lunging towards that front foot. And again, choosing your variation. When you're ready, we shift. Wide-legged forward fold. Press the hips up towards the center of your stance. 2 straight legs, nice flat back. Exhale, we hinge at the hip at the waist, we fold forward and find a deeper stretch here. Again, you can hold, option for your windmill pose. Now, if you're a seasoned yogi and maybe your headstand is part of your practice, that could be an option for you as well. If you want to go for that windmill pose, we'll come up to our flat back, press into the left palm, inhale, right fingertips will reach up. Breathing here. Exhale to lower. Switching sides, go with your breath. Press into the right palm, left fingertips reach up. Exhale, we'll lower. Inhale, come up to that flat back. As you exhale, shift your weight towards that back foot. Side lunge, choose your variation. Coming back to the top of your mat when you're ready. And pivoting all 10 toes to the top of your mat. One more crow pose. Rock your weight towards your back foot. Inhale to your forward fold. Left foot steps forward to meet the right. Again, you can heel toe the feet apart. Wherever you want that foot placement, wherever you are most comfortable with that hand placement. Again, just playing with shifting your weight forward. Toes can stay to your mat, that's all okay. So even if, your crow pose, maybe your crow's not flying today, maybe your crow looks more like a penguin, that's all right. The penguin style doesn't really fly, but they're always the best dressed. Try to incorporate your crow into your flow. So you can step back to your high plank, you can hop back, or again, if you're a show-off yogi, we can float. Inhale to your back then. Exhale, find your downward facing dog. Breathe here. So just taking a moment to breathe in this downward facing dog. We'll start to wind our practice down here. And so take the time you need with your downward dog. When you're ready, we'll lift the heels, bring one last little stretch in through the toes, tops of the feet. As you exhale, we'll lower the knees gently, coming to sit back towards the heels. So we'll start with our reclined hero pose. Now again, if sitting between your heels in this way is a little uncomfortable for the tops of the feet or for the knees, you can use a block or a prop to sit up onto. You can use it as a little impromptu stool, or if you have like a couch cushion or something like that. Another option could be to roll up a towel or something like that, and you can place it underneath the tops of the feet or through the fronts of the ankles, if that's where you experience the most sort of restriction within your body. From here, taking the hands behind you, and you can use your blocks to support your hands. With your inhale, you want to press the pelvis forward and up. Yeah, so again, it's like you're trying to tilt the pelvis back, and underneath you, like you're trying to tuck your tail between your legs, maintaining that straight line from the knees to the hips. We're going to lower straight back and down. So you're only sitting back as far as is comfortable for you. Maybe you sit to your block. Maybe you sit to your heels. You're still supporting yourself with your hands. If that's a deep enough stretch through the fronts of the thighs, through the quadricep group, that's okay. If your body is inviting you to go a little bit deeper, we can start to lower to our forearms. And so if you'd like, you can keep those props to support the forearms. You can adjust it for height, yogi's choice. Or if you're coming all the way down to the forearms, again, we can use some cushions or a foam roller or our blocks to support the upper back in between the shoulder blades and the back of the head. And so again, the idea here is to bring yourself to a place where you feel that stretch where you're trying to produce it, but that you can maintain a sense of calm, a sense of steadiness internally. Again, through the breath, keeping the breath calm and steady, we're going to influence how the mind and how the nervous system sort of respond to that stimulus, that stretch input. Last breath here. Now, if you're all the way down to your shoulders, you can start to reach for your shins to pull yourselves up to forearms. From forearms, walking ourselves up to flat palms, we'll press up to seated. Now, as we press up to seated, if you're sitting on something, you can remove that from underneath you. Shift your weight towards your hips, sweep the feet forward. We're going to take a bend into the knees. Nice wide seat. Coming into our bear seat position, you want to lift those toes. Coming up onto the heels, you want to start to pivot the toes to point outwardly from one another. Now, as we do this, pressing into the pinky toe edge of the foot, you want to actively try to pull the knees apart. It's like I'm trying to pull the outside of my knees down towards the floor. Breathing here. Just like we did at the beginning of our practice, laying down, we're going to create a little windshield wiper motion for the knees. So allowing the knees to sway side to side. Now, as you do this, notice if the hips feel a little restricted. If you need to give yourselves a little bit more room with which to move, you can open the angle on the hips by walking the hands back and leaning back towards the hands. So as you lean back towards the hands, you're going to decrease your degree of hip flexion. If you want to challenge your hips more, you want to sit up a little bit taller, and you're going to start to max out that hip flexion as you articulate those hips, as the knees sway side to side, as you swivel the hips side to side. You got it. So take your time. If you wanted to be a little bit more restrictive with your body and how it's producing this movement, you want to try to roll across your toe mounds as opposed to the heels of the feet. So watching your trail leg, you want to lift that heel. You want the heel to swing underneath the shin. Coming to that bear seat, the more you can separate the legs, the more you can pull the knees apart, the more of a stretch you're going to create through the inner thighs, through the adductors of the groin. And we can start to play with squaring the chest towards our lead leg. So in terms of my terminology here, when you sit to your deer pose to this 90-90 position, your lead leg is that leg that's sort of out in front of you. Your trail leg, your trail hip is the leg that's out to your side. So if you're squaring your chest towards that right leg, you want to feel that left hip pulling forward. Sitting up as tall as is comfortable for that left hip. Breathing here. Switching sides. Take the left hand behind you. Swivel the hips. Squaring your chest towards your left leg. Again, you want to feel that right hip pulling forward. Sitting up as tall as is comfortable for that right hip. Adding on. Again, as the knees lower to your right, squaring your chest towards that right leg. We're going to start to find a pigeon stretch. We're going to bring a stretch through the underside of the right thigh and into the back side of that right hip. So not unlike your pigeon pose. If you'd like to just go to your pigeon pose, feel free to bring that front heel in towards the pelvis, carry the chest forward so that you can extend that left leg behind you if you want to go for your pigeon. Or if you want to play with something a little bit more active, staying with this deer pose, this 90-90 position, we can find the same stretch. And so you want to think about puffing your chest forward and trying to poke your bum out behind you. Yeah. So as you do this, it should feel like you're trying to draw that left hip forward without anything moving. It's like you're trying to scrape your right hip back. Maintaining that length through the spine, you want to find your inhale. As you exhale, you begin to hinge forward, leading with the chest. So as Krista hinges forward, with every inhale, she wants to lift the low belly, the low ribs, up and over that right thigh. So it's almost like she's trying to draw her belly button towards her shin, or like she wants to bring her chest, her nose down beyond that front shin. Yeah. And so you can play with depth here. Exploring your depth. Now, if you wanted to build a deeper stretch, we don't necessarily need to fold forward deeper, but we can create more engagement within the hip, very similar to what we did in our half splits, by pressing down actively but gently through the right shin. You want to press down to the outside of the knee, into the pinky toe edge of the foot. As you press down, you're going to create more engagement through the posterior side of that right hip, the back side of that right hip. The harder you press down, the more you're going to ramp up that stretch. And we'll stay here for a few more breaths, and then we'll play with creating engagement through the regressive angle of our tissues or the shortened side. When you're ready, we're going to start to come back up to seated, maybe like halfway or 3/4 of the way up. And we want to start to irradiate tension through the entire body. And so this term, irradiating tension, we want to start to create muscle contraction in other areas of the body. So not only do we solidify our position, we solidify the rest of the body, so nothing helps that right hip out, but it also allows us to send a little bit of a stronger signal to that right hip. You're going to be able to create more neural drive into that hip that you're trying to move. So you want to begin by contracting through the abdominals. Let that energy, let that contraction start to irradiate or spill out into other areas of the body. So you're going to start to press down into both legs, pressing into the ground, even pressing down into both hands. And so holding the body solid. When you're ready, find your inhale. You want to pack that air into the low belly to brace. And we try to find lift through that front shin. So even if you're working really hard but you're not getting much lift, that's okay. So it's not about the result, it's about the intention. So you want to feel the muscles on the front side of the thigh, front side of the hip engaging to produce a lift off. And it's like you're trying to pull that right heel towards your left shoulder. Yeah, so take your time. We go breath in, we solidify our position, we brace, and we lift off to hold, breathing minimally. For 2, 1, try to maintain that lift, place the shin down, hinge forward at the waist, come back to your pigeon stretch. We'll play with that one more time. So from your stretch, start to press down into both legs. We start to rise up, pressing into the palms, pressing into both legs. Find your inhale, lift off, hold for 2, 1, exhale, we'll lower, come back to your stretch. Back up to your seat, we'll switch sides. Take the left palm behind you. Let the knees sway, let the hips swivel. Now, if you wanted to just isolate that right hip from your bear seat, just play with internally and externally rotating that right hip. If you want to let both knees sort of sway together, that's okay too. We can continue just with the gentle windshield wiper motions with the knees. When you're ready to switch sides, knees lower left. Square your chest towards your left leg. So for this variation, we'll give you guys a different angle so you can kind of see what we're doing. So squaring your chest towards that left leg, drawing that right hip forward. Again, the left hip is like trying to scrape back towards you. Puff the chest out, poke your bum out behind you. Leading with the chest, we start to hinge. Now, I didn't cue this on the other side, but as you start to hinge forward, notice if your body starts to pull your chest towards the outside of that left thigh. Using your hands, you want to create a little bit of shift within the pelvis. And so you're trying to shift the ribs to the inside of that thigh, but we don't want to just create twist within the spine. You want to keep the chest square to the left leg, and as you create that shift, you're going to feel that shift more within the pelvis than in the spine at all. And just that little subtle shift can make a world of difference in terms of stretch. Again, we can continue to hinge forward. If you're hinging forward deeper into your stretch, just make sure that with every inhale, you're creating lift through the low belly, through the low ribs, length through the spine as you hinge forward. Again, we can play with ramping up the stretch by creating more engagement within the hip, more activation by pressing down to the outside of the knee, across the shin, into the pinky toe edge of the foot. It's like I'm trying to drive my leg right through the floor. You want to build that tension up gradually and incrementally.
So for me, it's very hard for me to feel a stretch in this pose. So if you're really flexible in the hips here, try and think of squaring your chest more so to the front foot. And then same thing with a nice long spine. Think of poking the bum out behind you. And again, think of reaching forward as you fold. And then at the same time, pressing that top shin into the floor, and see if you notice you have a little bit more sensation there, a little bit more of a stretch.
So when you're ready, you want to maintain stretch. Keep pressing down into that left shin as you rise up. And then again, pressing down into both legs, contracting through those abdominals, pressing down into both hands. Find your inhale, pack that air into the low belly, and try to create your lift. Pulling that left heel towards the right shoulder, holding strong for 2, 1. Try to maintain the lift as you bring that shin down and hinge forward. Coming back to your pigeon stretch.
And we'll play with that one more time. And so solidify your position. We go breath in. We lift off. We hold strong for 2, 1. And we'll lower. Come back to your stretch. No rush. Coming back up to seated. You're going to take that right hand behind you. And let the hips sway side to side. Or let the knees sway, let the hips swivel. Now again, if you just wanted to isolate that left hip, finding your bear seat, that middle position, and then just playing with internally and externally rotating that right hip. Coming back to center. Maybe just taking the time to even out your sides. If you're letting both knees sway together, we'll heel toe the feet to come together. Curling ourselves down onto our backs. If you want one last little challenge, maybe a little core challenge, here's a little kinetic riddle for you. Try to curl yourselves down through the spine without letting your feet lift. So taking the arms forward, as you exhale, really start to hollow out the low belly. You want to think about really drawing the belly button inwardly, really trying to suck that belly button in towards the spine. And without letting the feet lift, you want to see if you can curl your sacrum and your low back down first, and then curling the rest of the spine down slowly, mindfully, vertebrae by vertebrae. As you come onto your back, bring the knees in towards the chest. Give yourselves one last little hug. And we can finish our practice with a little happy baby here. So taking the knees to about shoulder distance apart, arms will come to the inside of the knees and thighs to reach for the feet. So you can reach for outside arches, inside arches, or if you just want to use your peace fingers to scoop up the big toes, that's okay. And with your inhale, you're going to start to draw the ankles to line up with the knees. So the soles of the feet face towards the sky, toes are pointing towards your shoulders. Breathing here. With every inhale, ankles a little more in line with the knees. With every exhale, you're gently pulling down on the soles of the feet, drawing your knees down towards your mat and creating a little compression into the fronts of the hips. Also doing your best to press your low back, your sacrum down nice and flat. If it feels good for your low back, you can rock your baby side to side. And you want to create that rocking motion just by pulling down on one foot at a time. So as Krista pulls down to the left foot, she's going to rock to that side. She'll pull down to the right foot, she'll rock to that right side. And you can stay with knees bent. If you'd like to play with extending the legs, that's okay too. Yeah, one leg at a time or both legs together, almost like you're taking a sort of supine middle splits. Yeah. You can let go of the feet to reach for the inner shins if you choose. And when you're ready, just bringing the soles of the feet together, creating a diamond shape with the legs. You can release your feet to come down to your mat in that diamond shape. So option for a reclined butterfly pose here. If there are any other variations of your Shavasana, your corpse pose that maybe you prefer for your final relaxation, feel free to find that variation. And through that management of our breathing, we want to cultivate a sense of calm, a sense of relaxation, of peace internally. So become present to the current condition of your internal environment. Pay attention to the rhythm of the heart, the quality of your cycles of breath. And again, through our breath, through the way that we breathe, we begin to communicate to the nervous system that sense of calm, that sense of steadiness, that sense of relaxation. And just giving yourselves permission to enjoy it.
Sealing off our practice together right here. Feel free to stay with your corpse pose, your Shavasana, as long as you'd like, as long as you need. Give yourselves that time. Maybe just allowing everything to revert back to that passive, effortless state of being. We'd like to thank you all for coming onto your mats. Thank you for practicing yet again. Thank you for joining us in the live stream, in the live chat if you were able to. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And as always, peace and blessings to you all, and high fives and good vibes. That's good. Wanted to wait for that truck.
One last blooper for the end there. Man, forgot my last final edits. Whoopsies. All right.
Hope everybody had a great practice.
Yes. My microphone is not muted. You guys can hear us. Okay, so we had a question in the chat during the class from my brother from across the pond, Stuntman Bear. And Stuntman asked about if his wifey, who has a torn labrum in the hip, should avoid any of these poses. So, hold on. Right on. We like to have fun here, Linda. We like to have fun here. Yeah, we're live again now, Dougie. Hips feeling good. Awesome, Chris. So yeah, that's the question that we had. So Stuntman asked because his wife had a torn labrum in the hip, and if she should avoid any of these poses. So in the chat, I mentioned that she could modify the poses, and to just be mindful with the injury, depending on how fresh of an injury it is. But Krista had something for you, Stuntman.
So one of my teachers, when I was in my teacher training, she taught the yoga tune-up portion of the class, or of the training, and she tore both of her labrums, and she had really great success doing yoga tune-up to help heal it. She had to do surgery on the one, but she was able to heal the other one with yoga tune-up. So I would definitely look into yoga tune-up and
maybe explain.
And Jill Miller. It's essentially using like different size balls, essentially. Some are softer, harder, larger, whatever.
So if you don't have these specific tune-up balls, you can easily use like a tennis ball
or a sock,
a rolled up sock. Mm-hmm. If you have like a foam roller or something like that,
or like a soft like beach ball or something like that. But you can find a lot of tutorials and stuff online of people using them. And different like class ideas, and essentially you're just putting pressure onto that area to help kind of reconfigure the tissue there, to help lay down stronger tissue, and it kind of reconfigures everything in that area. And then as well as some of the FRC stuff that Chad does for the hips, that will I think
Yeah.
both of them would be like a good compliment.
So some of that rotational stuff and some of the stretching and isometric work that we were doing at the beginning and at the end of that class might go a long way towards helping the hip to recover as well, stuntman. Yeah, we did make it a little bit lighter today. We went a little bit shorter, so the class was only an hour and 15 minutes as opposed to an hour and a half. So we're getting better with time management.
Yeah, so if anybody is coming to the live meditation tomorrow, it starts at 11 a.m. We'll be going live in our living room. And it's going to be a visualization meditation. So this is my favorite type of meditation. Essentially, I'll just be guiding you through it as we go, and then maybe just have some music prepared if you want music. I will also make a playlist for it. Yeah, totally up to you if you want music or not. And then make sure you have a blanket, pillows, a journal if you want to journal afterwards. Yeah, and it'll be about 20 minutes, so not too long.
Yeah. Actually, this might help with your focus there, Dougie. Joining us for a little meditation tomorrow morning. So we're gonna live stream that meditation tomorrow morning at 11.
Sweet.
Yeah. Feel free to share, subscribe to the channel.
And the theme for the meditation is about finding inner peace, essentially. Because I kind of wanted to relate it to times of right now. So, yeah, so it should be good.
Yeah, good suggestion, Dougie. Yep. That's what it's all about. Yeah, getting people together, chatting amongst each other, getting to know each other, in the live chat and joking around a little bit. I kind of like that idea of the little blooper reel at the beginning, nice, lighthearted, joking around. We can also play with, including maybe like some funny memes or something like that while we wait for people to filter in before we start the actual class, the actual practice video. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, that can also be content that we can cover before the classes.
And let us know if you like the idea of having a meditation every week, or if you want like shorter kind of videos or more talking videos of something, or breathing videos. Just because then we can kind of give you guys more variety throughout the week and more little snippets here and there. Aww.
That's so funny. Laurie was sending me some pictures as well of their dog all up on their mats and stuff. It's so funny. It's hilarious when your animals just want to be part of the action. That's a good idea too, Dougie. That's a good idea. Or even on the Chadasana Moves page. I'm not sure if you guys are able to post on there or not, but yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea. So I guess we can sign off there. So again, big thank you to Doug for the webcam. Big thank you to Darren and Lori for letting us use their awesome little stone barn with the wood stove to film. Great studio space. And thank you all for coming. Thank you for joining us in the live stream.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share our videos.
Yeah, help the channel grow.
If you want to do any classes again, they're all posted. If you want to revisit one of them.
Yeah. And feel free to drop a donation if you can. Of course, we know not many people are working these days, but every little bit helps. And completely voluntary, so nothing obligated, but always appreciated. And actually, we're thinking of using our donations to maybe upgrade some of our equipment in terms of like camera and an external microphone. So just so that we can put out better content for you guys. So yeah. Again, thanks for coming. Peace and blessings.
See you guys. See you guys tomorrow morning.
Yeah, see you all tomorrow morning. If you can make it out. Peace and blessings. And as always, high fives and good vibes, y'all. Take care.
Have a great Friday, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.